All right. Welcome to a very special episode of uh, The Artist Way with Stevie Flowers. I'm Stevie, of course, and this is The Artist Way, baby. Ooh, it's spicy. We got some ginger tea, and it's kicking today. Chapter 5, Recovering a Sense of Possibility. Recovering a Sense of Possibility. I say it's a special episode because it's dark in here, pretty much. But also, I felt like this one touched on some things that maybe I never really fully understood within myself, and we're gonna go over that now. And it's exciting. I hope it helps some of you. It also might be a special episode because I might actually keep it under 30 minutes, and I'm excited about that. Maybe even under 20. But don't quote me because I've said that before. We'll see what the timestamp is. But recovering a sense of possibility. Let's recap for the week. If you don't know what the book is, Artist Way, A Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity, internationally best-selling author Julia Cameron. Basically, it's a course. We're on week 5, going through each week. You're doing journaling exercises and really just kind of trying to chip away at different things that have put up walls around your creativity and your personality and your connection with universal source. And that's where all the ideas are coming from anyway, at least in this paradigm, this school of thought, but which I believe in. And recovering a sense of possibility really hit me because I think a lot of things she touches on here is really just like getting out of your own way and understanding the things that you're doing that maybe are limiting your idea of possibilities. So we'll go over that. But as far as week 5 check-in, again, if you're new around here, you need to do morning pages. So every day, three handwritten pages. I'm doing it in my trusty Take Note black notebook from Target. Almost done, actually. Only got a couple pages left. I've done 4 out of the 7. I think that's slightly better than week 4. I've been lacking. Week 5, it's crazy. I'm doing week 5, but also I keep like accidentally opening the book to week 10, and there's a lot of weeks. So holy shit, we're not even halfway through. So hell yeah. What was I saying? Yeah, we're not doing great on the pages, but I feel like my relationship with the morning pages is getting better, which is good, which I wrote about. I'm starting to appreciate them more and understand the openness and the flow state they're intended to put you in. Yesterday I was doing my morning pages and realized for probably the last like 3/4, last half of a page, I was writing and didn't even acknowledge my hand moving or whatnot, but the connection from my thoughts to them coming down on the page was completely seamless. So that was cool. Didn't even realize I was writing, but I kept writing. So the ideas are just coming out. And the one thing she mentioned in the artist check-in this week was like, have you noticed a breakthrough that you have about a page and a half in? And I have noticed that about a page and a half, 2 pages in, all of a sudden it's like, boom, okay, I'm done making up shit. Like, boom, the truth just starts coming out. Or maybe the first page I'm just ranting about like how much I hate this, that, and whatever, just pissed off. And then all of a sudden I hit, and then I just have all the answers. And I'm like, you know what? This is what I need to do. This is what I need to think. You know what I mean? Let's replace everything I was just thinking with this. You know what I mean? So the last half is redeeming and more. It's truth. It's truth telling to yourself. Other part of the main tools of this is the artist dates. I've been doing even worse on those. I'm not even gonna lie. I have not been getting out. My life is so busy right now. It's insane. I got to do a couple little errands this week, and maybe that will clear my head. I do have the weekend. I have a long weekend to myself, so I'll probably make a little day trip out of one of the days. I don't know where I'm going to go, but let me do a little research and see what happens, and we'll hear about it next week. But yeah, so that's it for the artist check-in of week 5. And then I just wanted to go over a couple things that I found in week 5 to be really beneficial to me, and hopefully they'll be beneficial to you. Hopefully you got a little tea going on. If you're listening in the morning, hope it's a little pick me up. If it's at night, I hope it's helping you digest, rest and digest. You know what I'm saying? But right off the bat, one of the things she says here, again, frame it. Recovering a sense of possibility was week 5. This week, you are being asked to examine your payoffs in remaining stuck. You will explore how you curtail your own possibilities by placing limits on the good you can receive. You will examine the cost of settling for appearing good instead of being authentic. And that's the big thing that hit me. You may find yourself thinking about radical changes, no longer ruling out your growth by making others the cause of your constriction. Facts. Factual. So what it says here in the first paragraph. On one hand, we take ourselves very seriously and don't want to look like idiots pursuing some patently grandiose scheme. On the other hand, we don't take ourselves or God seriously enough, and so we define as grandiose many schemes that, with God's help, may fall well within our grasp. And this chapter does use the word God a lot and reference God, and I've been getting on board. I mean, I'm open-minded to anything, to anyone's religion and school of thought, because I think there's something to learn from everybody. So I think a lot of people are talking about the same things, the same human experiences, but we just have different language to represent the ideas that they're talking about. And so, as I go through here, I'm going to use the words that she's using, but feel free, in your own head to kind of put in whatever concept makes you feel comfortable or allows the idea to resonate with you better. Universal source, the universe, creative energy, creativity, creative source. Those are kind of all the concepts that align with God for me whenever I hear that in this book. And like I said, I'm open-minded to everything, so I invite you to be the same, no matter where you come from there, to hopefully get a good message and a good learning out of some of the stuff I have to say here. And if you do the book, just know that that's part of the framing here. But this one really hit me. This little section, I read this to my girlfriend the other night. As soon as I read it, I was like, you got to hear this. You got to hear this. So I'm going to read what I read to her to you now, and hopefully it's good. But some of you may be thinking, based on what I just said, that this sounds like the magic wand. I pray to God, and presto, sometimes that is how it will feel. More often, what we're talking about here seems to be a conscious partnership in which we work along slow and gradually, clearing away the wreckage of our negative patterning, then clarifying the vision of what it is that we want, and then learning to accept small pieces of that vision from whatever source, and then one day, presto. For me, to put a pin in that, I feel like the last couple of years I've done a really good job of clearing away the wreckage of my negative patterning, not talking down on myself in my head, just being my own supporter in a lot of ways, which is really, really important place to start. And then clarifying the vision of what you want is what I had a star next to, because I don't necessarily feel like I have a vision and in what my end goal is with my aspirations. Like it's vague, and it's really just like raw excitement and interest and creativity and everything that I'm doing. So I need to clarify what that vision is that I want. And a lot of these exercises in the past chapters have included creating a vision board, and every chapter's task includes adding things to the vision board. So I mentioned weeks past, I got to make that and get it hung up and chip away at that. So that'll probably be a task for this weekend as well, and that'll be really good to have up. Back to what I said. So clear away the wreckage of our negative patterning, then clarify the vision of what it is that we want, and then learn to accept the small pieces of that vision from whatever sources, and then one day, presto. So things will just come. You may have heard this before, but you can't decide the path that you're going to take. It's always going to bounce you left and right, and you just need to know what you're looking for and what you want, and trust that they will come in whatever form that they do, and accept it when it does. To go on, she says, the vision seems to suddenly be in place. In other words, pray to catch the bus and then run as fast as you can. I love that. That's just cheeky as hell. But I love that, to pray to catch the bus, but you got to run as fast as you can and meet God halfway, so to speak. For this to happen, first of all, we must believe. Oh my God. That ginger tea, I'm telling you. It's not even ginger tea, it's like just powdered ginger in hot water. It's intense. All right. For this to happen, first of all, we must believe that we are allowed to catch the bus. We come to recognize that God is unlimited in supply and that everyone has equal access. I'll read that part again. God is unlimited in supply, unlimited, and that everyone has equal access. This begins to clear up guilt about having or getting too much, since everyone can draw on that universal supply. We deprive no one with our own abundance. If we learn to think of receiving God's good as being an act of worship, cooperating with God's plan to manifest goodness in our lives, we can begin to let go of having to sabotage ourselves. One reason we are miserly with ourselves is scarcity thinking. We don't want our luck to run out. We don't want to overspend our spiritual abundance. Again, we are limiting our flow by anthropomorphizing, third time's a charm, anthropomorphizing God into a capricious parent figure, remembering that God is our source, an energy flow that likes to extend itself. We become more able to tap our creative power effectively. And a lot of the things I just said I have underlined and became part of some of my daily affirmations when I do my morning pages. Namely, God is unlimited in supply and everyone has equal access. If we learn to think of receiving God as good as being an act of worship, let go of having to sabotage ourselves. God is our source, an energy flow that likes to extend itself. And the reason this section really hit me because, and then we go on to talk about this later in the book, is just like this feeling that if I expand myself and do the most, and that's some people call that nowadays, like doing the most, that I'm gonna take away from other people or make people uncomfortable. And that's really the big thing that we touch on later in this book. It's like this chapter is like doing what I want to do and being creative and just being weird as hell. Like, I notice sometimes it'll make people uncomfortable, and I think I prioritize that, and I need to not, because ironically enough, like, me being weird will over time like make more people comfortable than it will uncomfortable. Like, it will make the uncomfortable people comfortable again when they see me be weird, and you know what I mean, and maybe even allow some of those people that I make uncomfortable to face the reasons why they do, and maybe come out of their shell too. So like leading by example and realizing that it's net good for everybody for me to be weird and get out of my shell and like be in tune with the universal source that is telling me to do whatever the weird shit that I want to do. And that's friggin' dope, if you ask me. Like, that's it's so peaceful to think that way. Like, it brings me peace to try and live like that, because it's a battle with myself to, like, restrict myself for the betterment of other people, or perceived betterment of other people, because in reality I'm hurting everybody by not just being myself. And like it says here, we must learn to let the flow manifest itself where it will, not where we will it. So just let shit happen the way it's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? You got to. And a lot of section here that I didn't underline much. I think it was this anecdote about someone who's worked with her before, and kind of just an example that is laid out about everything I just said. And then one thing that I have underlined here is the desire to be worldly, sophisticated, and smart often blocks our flow. And I think those words are important, especially smart, because I think a lot of people want to be perceived as smart, and are afraid to be seen as wrong, or think that they're wrong about something. Like, even as simple as like, oh, this movie came out in 2006, but it really came out in 2008, and they just don't want to admit that. Or you bring up the facts and they start pushing back instead of being like, oh, I didn't know. They want to act confused instead of just like bow out and be like, I was wrong. And that's blocking their flow with the creativity, because they're hung up on that. You know what I'm saying? And worldly, like materialistic, and adultery, honestly, is another word for it. Just like idolizing things in the world more than like this flow, this energy that's telling you the truth at all times if you listen. And don't listen to humans. Like, honestly, don't, in a lot of ways. Listen to them sometimes, but like you get my point. Sophisticated is the other word used. I think that kind of goes with smart, and I think I really drove that point home with that. But God will provide. Our job is to listen for how. Another thing I have underlined here. The energy's coming through. Our job is to calm down, stay open, listen, and act on those that will. What you feel you need to will. Yeah, I think that's pretty good for this. One thing I had was like underlined this quote, kind of out of context here, but she said, "I can't believe I'm doing this," in quotation marks. And I wrote on the side, like, look for more of these moments. I'd like to, get more of that shit in my life where I'm just like, I can't believe I'm doing this. You know what I mean? That's great, right? For me. Another thing she did say, she talks about this concept of like, she goes on a little bit to talk about the idea that you're going to ask and you're going to push for the universe to give you something, or you're going to like work towards your goals, but don't be surprised when they come in these weird little ways. Like the analogy she says is like, we shake the apple tree and the universe delivers oranges. So stuff like that, where it's like, just stay open, stay active, and like just move towards your goals and your dreams, and don't be surprised when they like show up in a weird way, and know that that's like that's more than likely going to be the case. The universe is kind of crooked like that. And this big concept that I was kind of touching on earlier is the virtue trap, and it's really just, to sum it up, like trying to be too nice, like being too nice and making people comfortable, and trying to be a virtuous person. And when you go to college, and if you've been to college, or maybe if you're just interested in this kind of stuff, we learned a lot of philosophy. There was a lot of philosophy classes, and the word virtue got thrown around a lot, and being virtuous and what it means to be a virtuous person. And it really is framed in a way that's all about like your relationship with yourself and your relationship with other people, and how those are kind of intertwined. And I think this section is kind of separating that, in my mind, is what it did, and not caring so much about how you're relating to other people, because in a lot of ways that could be disharmonious with your true nature, and that's not really like who you are all the time. And that's okay. It's okay to hurt people's feelings in a way. You don't want to go out of your way to hurt people's feelings, but also if you're doing what you feel is right, what your heart is telling you to do, you're chasing your dreams, or whatever that means for you in a moment. If that upsets someone else indirectly, like if your heart's not telling you to hurt this person, if that's not the thing that it's telling you to do, but you end up hurting them like that, 9 times out of 10, that's on them, and that's just something they need to work through on their own end. And in a way that this is kind of framed and rationalized is that being kind and worrying about being nice and being perceived as nice is actually a huge detriment to creative people, because it's just another hurdle to jump through to like have that connection with the universal creative source. And I broke 20 minutes, so I lied, but here we are. I'm going to read this little section. It says, there are powerful payoffs to be found in staying stuck and deferring, nurturing your sense of self. For many creatives, the belief that they must be nice and worry about what will happen with their friends, family, mate if they dare to do what they really want to constitutes a powerful reason for non-action. It's a powerful reason for sure. I mean, love and belonging is an important need for human beings, and it's like right underneath self-actualization, and arguably a lot of what this book is talking about is achieving self-actualization to some degree. So you can kind of get stuck on that level of like, I have these people who love me and I'm accepted by some kind of peer group. I have my family and that's good enough, and I'm going to just kind of like tune out to the dreams and the callings that are in my heart. And that can be dangerous if you're really trying to achieve those things. You got to be careful to put yourself first in a lot of ways. It says here, many recovering creatives sabotage themselves most frequently by making nice. There is a tremendous cost to such ersatz virtue. I'm not familiar with ersatz as a word. ERSATZ virtue, but tremendous cost to such a virtue. For an artist, virtue can be deadly. I call this seductive faux spirituality the virtue trap. Many of us have made a virtue out of deprivation. We have embraced a long-suffering artistic anorexia as a martyr's cross. We must use it to feed a false sense of spirituality grounded in being good, meaning superior. And that's really like when I talk about philosophy classes in high school, like it was like, how do I be the best person I could be? And being virtuous is part of that, is being like as good as I can to other people. And it was kind of like a superiority thing now that she uses that word. And but it's just a false sense of self. It's not really like in tune with yourself. You're just trying to navigate the world and figure out what checks off the boxes to make you a nicer person. So fuck all that noise. Be yourself. And a biggest thing to end this section in this chapter is the idea of, are you self-destructive? People are like, oh, I'm not self-destructive. Take 10 seconds here. I'm going to frame this, and then I'm going to say it, and I want to just sit in the silence and you question it. But, screw, people will say like, oh, you think self-destructive, you think, drug use, alcohol, bad food, staying up late, spending all your money, that kind of stuff. But in reality, a lot of those things are worldly. And for one, do you have a sense of self? Do you understand who you are and what you need as a self? Like, yeah, you need food, water, friends, a job, but like, what do you desire? Like, what are your dreams? Like, what is your dream life? What is your world supposed to look like in your heart? That's yourself, right? Are you self-destructive? Are you self-destructive? Are you destructive to that sense of self, to that self who has the dreams, who's, it's really some inner child type of stuff. Back to week 4 as well. And you can do that for the sake of other people. You can say, I'm going to do that to make other people happy, and I'm going to be the best, nicest person anyone's ever met. But are you sabotaging? Are you nice to yourself? Do you know what I mean? Like, you're the first person you have a relationship with, and that's the relationship that's bearing all the weight that it takes for you to take care of other people and be perceived as nice. Meanwhile, your inner child, yourself, resents you because you're not actually fostering that relationship the way that you're taking care of everybody else, and you're trying to like have relationships with everybody else. If you worked on that first relationship first with yourself, figure out who that person is and take care of them, you'll be a lot more in line with yourself. Literally, I mean, you'd be a lot more in line in the world with what the world wants you to do. So that's what I'm going to leave chapter 5 on. We had some activities this week, but honestly, there are a lot of journaling exercises. Like, if I go over them, it's just kind of like a waste of time, but I think it's a good place to end. We will be back for week 6. I'm going to try and get it done this weekend, so I'll get these videos up a little earlier. I know it's a Tuesday night here, so, you know, we're working at our own pace. We're doing our best. We're just doing our best, man, you know? And I'm sure you're doing your best too, so hope you have a great rest of your day here whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you next week. Peace.